Hi, Daniel.
Hey, good to see you, Philip.
Can you see me fine and hear me fine?
You're absolutely crystal clear.
Great. Glad to hear it.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to the Edge broadcast, man. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, the soul, and of course, your book there, "Love the Loving Power of the Soul." And let's just start off. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Who are you, and why did you start writing about the soul?
Well, my wife and partner, Jane Mountrose, and I, sort of our mutual journey of looking into awakening and enlightenment for the last 3 decades led us eventually to write this new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul. And we were looking in our 20s years ago for more spiritual enlightenment, awakening, like many people do sooner or later.
Mhm.
And I was looking into different, this was in the 1970s, way before the internet. And there was Buddhism and Eastern religions and Japanese tea ceremonies and other psychologies. I just, kind of looking around there, what's out there. Uh, and I was led into a spiritual school by the Gurdjieff Ouspensky line. They were sort of spiritual, esoteric philosophers in the last century.
Hmm.
And it was a group, spiritual group.
Okay.
And spiritual groups are kind of like mini religions, sort of concentrated or laser-like.
Okay.
So they do have a little bit of can get into a little cult-like thing where the leader becomes very powerful and sort of following the leader type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're gurus and things, and there's a place
Okay.
for that.
Okay. There is
But
guru.
it became disillusioning after a while because it was like the leader could be awakened, but no one else could.
Hmm.
It's
Okay.
kind of that trap, that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, there's a couple patterns out there. One is if you are in the special group, the special religion, then you are chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And then within certain groups, especially cult-like groups, then the leader is sort of chosen and you're sort of tied in codependently with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of lose your power in your way that and until you sort of wake up and break ties with that. So that got us into looking into healing because we realized healing is a key part of awakening.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
and that led us into hypnotherapy and energy healings like EFT, and we developed some of our own
Mm-hmm.
spiritual kinesiology and soul connecting, and started doing that independently with people, training, writing books. And in the meantime, my wife was a architect for a while. I was an educator, but that we eventually replaced that, then kind of got burnt out with those professions and went full time into holistic coaching and healing and writing.
Hmm. Uh, well, I kind of know what you're talking about when you talk about different groups may go sort of in a kind of occultish realm. And you mentioned the leader seems to be the one that gets there. That reminded me. It reminded me when I was approached or harassed by some Moonies, and they wanted me to. They had this like case, like like you go to New York and the guy opens a trench coat and there's watches. Well, they open this thing and there's little rings. I said, well, what's this all about? I said, well, we want you to buy a ring so we can give our money to Reverend Moon. I said, well, why do you want to give money to Reverend Moon? This is an actual conversation I had. And he said, well, because Reverend Moon hears from God. I said, well, do you? He goes, well, no, we're not as high as him. We have to hear it through him. I said, well, I'm thinking that you should be able to go to God directly and you shouldn't have to finance Reverend Moon's operation. He was just confused. He's never heard of the concept that maybe he could get directly to God's throne or whatever they profess. I didn't hear too much on what they do. Then I'll leave you. I'll get back to you in just a second because I have a second one, and that was when I got the knock on the door from Jehovah's Witnesses, and they said, "Hello, we want you to sign up to be in our crew or our hierarchy. Or I don't know either their force or whatever. I didn't know exactly how that was." And I said, well, what's going on with that? And they said, well, we're one of the 144,000, and we get a planet when we die, and we need subjects. And I said, wait a minute. You come into my door, and you want me to be a subject of you on some distant planet when I die. I said, no, I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm just not going there. I'm not going to be your subject somewhere on some other hidden planet. So anyway, so it does happen. I'm thinking that maybe there's a quicker course between us and the hereafter, or the larger sense of eternity out there. What do you say?
Well, that was our whole journey here, Daniel, about connecting with the soul, the wisdom within, the spark of the divine. And we ran across some teachers, my wife, Jane Mountrose, and I in the early 1990s, who sort of taught us about that, and we called it soul centering, which we developed sort of our own uh, uh, interpretation of that and wrote that in the book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, How to Connect with Your Soul. Many people think it's just an unusual experience to be connecting with your soul. I think most people, unless they're really atheistic, believe there is some kind of deeper connection to God, oneness, unity, however you phrase it, and that when you're in this awesome state, a state of awe, maybe a sunset or sunrise or beauty, you feel the power of the universe. I think everyone feels that in nature sometimes. Or if you're in this intense crisis, sometimes you're just completely aware of everything.
Mm-hmm.
However, what we realize is you can be present moment to moment, including this moment. And we have 6 actually ways to do it in The Loving Power of Your Soul. And that's what we started to do years ago, around 1990. And it really shifted our lives to be more present and to really awaken more what we wanted to do, and then actually use that energy also for healing as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me welcome a few additional people in our live chat. Killed by
Yes.
Bigfoot, Robert Griffin, Dolly Von der Reeth, Gary Granado, Overbuilt Automotive, Teflon Coat, Rupert Fellows, and Vincent Plattensaw all joined us here in the live chat. If you're watching this program, the chat on the YouTube channel is on the right. If you're watching this program from the website, the chat is on the left upper, and both of those pop out, and you can move those chats. They're both combined. And by the way, Philip, we have a poll question on our website there next to your bio and the show information. What is the soul is the question, which we feel is relevant. And their
Yes.
answers can be the subconscious, the immaterial essence of a human, the immortal part of the body, the heart, the pineal gland, the lower part of a tennis shoe, or a Beatles album. That might be one that you might know that one. But of those, if you want me to read them again, I will. Which one would you say is the closest descriptor of a soul? You want me to read them again?
Well, maybe it would be more a better answer if I just sort of answer it sort of within, which might encompass several of the answers. Would
Sounds
that
good.
be okay if we?
Absolutely,
It's
do
kind
it.
of hard to put it into a multiple choice, although it's an interesting approach, kind of a left brain approach. The left brain actually sort of translates some of the right brain, which is connected with the heart, which is the seat of the soul. Sometimes it's called that. So it's that inner knowingness, that sense of oneness and connection, and interestingly enough, we're sort of born in amnesia. Life is our sleep. Our life is but a forgetting, Williams Wordsworth, but we've come from afar. And it's there all the time, that greater us. And when we're quiet and listen, we have that sense of presence and oneness and unity and intensity and surrender. All of those things, it's a feeling, it's a knowingness. And actually, it's interesting enough, it's sort of like our divine wisdom, that as we connect with it, it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
And it uses our intelligences, our physical intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our mental intelligence. It uses the intelligence for us to grow and to learn. And the way I understand it is, if you came here for a reason, which I believe you did, most people do, although some don't. But if you're here for a reason, if it makes sense, if the universe isn't just a random thing that somehow we're talking in this conversation just by random, all these things happen and it's just sort of, an accident.
Mm-hmm.
If you think there's some sense to it and meaning to it, why are you here? Well, you're here to love, to create, and this is all the soul, I'm answering the soul answer.
Okay.
Love, to create, and to heal. And these are patterns that could come from previous lifetimes, things that your soul took you here to expand. And it seems to me it's sort of the universe or God is like that too, on a bigger, almost incomprehensible scale, that we're sort of off, just like we're an offshoot of our soul. Our soul is sort of an offshoot or a part of the divinity and oneness for this grand experiment movement that is the universe that we're here experiencing now.
Mm-hmm. Some people say there's a triune part of human existence, the mind, the soul, and the body. Do you think that the soul is the same as your consciousness?
Well, the soul connects you with your consciousness that connects with everything. I mean, there's different levels of consciousness. There's sort of your mental consciousness, as I said, your faculties, but the knowingness that connects you with things beyond the physical, beyond the rational, which includes that, but goes way beyond that, that knowingness, that transcendent quality, that's your consciousness that's here. And in a way that doesn't change, but in a way it does, because I do feel we're somehow evolving, and that gives us purpose and fulfillment and meaning why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're looking at a screen grab from your website there. Life is ripe with opportunities, and in this moment, your greatest opportunity might be where you are right now. The good doctor, yourself, and your wife there, it looks like. So are we right now, and the people watching this program, is this the greatest opportunity at this very moment?
Well, in a way, the only opportunity you have is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this all you can really do is take advantage of now. You can plan for the future, you can learn from the past, but you can only experience now, and this is where things are going to shift. So if you decide right now, listening to this podcast, that you want to grow, to have more love, to have more creativity, to heal, you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's choice, or you can kind of stay asleep. You know, when they say awaken, it sort of implies that you weren't awake, you were somewhat asleep, to use language.
Mm-hmm.
That means you weren't that aware of yourself being in this moment, living your life more consciously.
Okay, now we have questions coming in, and let's
Yes.
get, by the way, welcome Laura. I see you just logged in the live chat as well. Smoke C says, Doctor, what's the relationship between non-random events and free will?
Non-random events. It's not random events and free will, or non-random events. It's sort of, I'm a little puzzled by the word non-random. Almost sounds like it's random events.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense, that question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what non-random events are. I'm going to just.
Well, non-random to me means it ordered.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not speaking for the person, but I mean,
yeah. So what's the difference between ordered events and free will?
Yeah.
Ordered events and free will. This is getting a little abstract and mental, so I'm not quite sure of the words, but I will say that I think there is a certain order to the universe, and there is free will, and there is randomness. Mm-hmm. But because your soul has a plan, that means something that you came into this universe, into this incarnation, into this mm-hmm. life in a loose, flexible way, with certain parents and settings and conditions for things to learn. There's a certain order to that. Mm-hmm. So if you're living in the United States, you're not living in India. You know, there's a certain order to that. You know, if you're a male, there's a certain order to that than if you're a female, mm-hmm. etc. Mm-hmm. So there's a certain order there, and there's going to be some random things, some things that come out of the blue that is going to spark your creativity. Mm-hmm. And because if you are here to learn, to love, to grow, to heal, it's going to be part of that journey for your specific individuality.
Does it bother you, and I would say it bothers me, but maybe I'm asking you if it bothers you, if when we're talking about love and
yes.
the desire to learn what life's about, the desire to learn how to love and forgiveness and these magnificent higher life journeys that we're trying to press into, higher spirituality, does it bother you when you see, say, a mass or a group of people that's completely the opposite of that? I mean, you know that's out there, and I'm not going to say a specific group or any group. I'll just say I know that groups exist that foment hate and
right.
And so this juxtaposition or this polarization, this yin and yang, are these forces fighting it out somewhere toward the middle the outer reaches of love and the outer reaches of hate, and then we're kind of in the middle over here trying to figure out, hey, what's love? And love could be this, is that, and the Bible says this about love, and this over here says, how can we hurt these people because I really hate what they're doing? And like the sinner. But then you got is there, when you talk about the circle of hate and circle of love, were they combined, so to speak, or maybe an overlap? Is that where the battle is to move one way or another?
Well, I think we obviously know there's a lot of contrast and there's a lot of separation and lack of love, certainly in especially today, a lot of strife. And that's why the soul, connecting with the soul, where we started in the Loving Power of Your Soul book, is if you're coming from that place, then you do stand up for yourself. You do shine a light on things. It doesn't mean you accept or give credence or further hate, and some of it's a little subjective, so you have to be in the moment. People are coming from different places and different parts in their journey. Well, but I think it's more shining the light of your own love from your own wisdom of your soul onto the situation wherever you are in life, which sometimes is standing up to hate and division and war and conflict, of course.
So to my question, does it bother you that these groups are like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm immune. I have feelings, and that triggers feelings in me. And
do you ever think that like
some of that's useful?
Okay, so I'm thinking, do you see, is love going to win out before somebody hits the mute
sometimes
button?
It seems like it will. I mean, we do have free will to destroy the planet. I mean, that's obviously a real viable possibility because of free will. It's still on our journey to wholeness. We'll go on elsewhere in other realms. But because there's free will, we have the choice of doing things that are very destructive. And it is a world of contrast to learn what love is by what is not love.
Viveka, welcome to this chat. I see you just logged in. Do you have any thoughts on the idea that the luminaries represent human consciousness?
I don't know what are the luminaries. I'm not sure what the reference is to.
Well, in this conspiratorial show here,
okay,
that might mean
maybe I'm not caught up on the latest conspiracy theories.
That could mean Illuminati. And by the way, Illuminati, isn't that one of the words you can spell backwards? Pretty freaky.
What, it can spell it forward or backwards?
Yeah, I think it is. So anyways, Illuminati, they're out there. Okay, we'll just move on from there. But I do have a question. This is going deep. This is going real deep. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm
okay,
listening.
all right. Here it is.
Where I don't know where we're going, but I'm open.
Okay, you're going where no guest has gone before. They say that chicken soup is good for the soul. I kind of think that it is. Is that true?
Chicken soup is good for the soul.
Is there some ingredient in chicken soup because I know when I eat chicken soup, I feel really good. I feel like
we really shifted on that one from conspiracy to chicken soup for the soul. Unless there's something esoteric, maybe there is in that. Yeah. Well, certainly healthy food makes you feel good, and there's a lot of healthy nutrients in chicken soup.
Okay. But spiritually though, you're not making a connection between chicken soup and the improvement of the soul.
Well, I think it is. To me, I mean, I don't know if there's an esoteric meaning, but to me, it's more metaphoric, and it's also a sense of love. I grew up in a Jewish background, so like chicken soup was sort of like your mother loving you and feeding you and nurturing you, and it is a healthy food.
We have a segment of this program called the Bear Report that comes on before this interview section, and then on the Bear Report, Bear. We call him up and he gives us good news of the week. And so we just have a segment and all he does is gives us good stories. And so it's very refreshing.
That's nice.
And tonight he was saying that one of the things that really I would say is good for the soul. He didn't say that, but what's good for the soul is remembering childhood books. And he posed the question, what was the childhood book that you really loved, as a child? And one was Bearstein Bears, and there was some others that I saw, Winnie the Pooh I saw. And I'm only saying that because it seems like those are good for the soul, because even thinking about that, or maybe a candy bar that used to have, or a show, it brings some kind of warmth, some kind of transition, organic as it seems, a warmth of nostalgia that washes away a lot of the crap that we all deal with. Chicken soup seems like it washes away a lot of the crap. But we're talking about of course, we're talking about your book. Now, can we say that your book is like one of our younger days of enjoying a book or a candy bar or
Well,
chicken
I
soup?
would say, something from the past, if it evokes a higher state, a state of love, acceptance, enjoyment, and it could be the innocence and beauty of childhood, with something you remember that you just, loved eating,
Hmm.
that put you in a peaceful, blissful state. Now, if it's putting it in now,
Hmm.
then it would be good.
Hmm.
If it's just kind of remembering a memory as almost an avoidance thing, that might be interesting, but I wouldn't say that's being present to your soul now, because you'd
Hmm.
be in this sense of being present. Which, and I think maybe Daniel, we should do some kind of experiential for people to understand, maybe experientially, what I'm talking about.
Hmm. Um, you mentioned about crisis or pain causes development of the soul, healing kind of awakens it.
Hmm.
I would say that most people in the live chat, in fact, I may even pose this question because I really like to involve people watching the program. Uh,
Sure.
we know that through our daily lives, interactions, relationships, that our soul gets damaged. Or maybe even watching a slasher movie, you feel like if it's graphic enough, you feel like your soul's been damaged. How can we? So the question I have for the people watching the program: do you feel at some point in your life has your soul been damaged? Okay, so that question I'm going to just pose to them. Just a quick yes or no. Has your soul been damaged in your life? So we'll wait for people to respond to that. And then for you, then uh, can this damage be reversed?
I think that's a really good question, Daniel. So there are challenges, and as some of them, like I'll just tell an experience that might be illustrative of this. When I went to film school at UCLA, I was thinking of being a film director, a writer in my early 20s, and we did student films that we put in front of our fellow students and kind of aired them, screened them. And the second film I did was terrible. It was a horrible flop. I didn't really realize, I was very young and naive. I thought it would be well received until I kind of saw it in front of everyone and realized, have you ever seen sort of yourself in front of other people and you were disillusioned and kind of seeing you're not who you thought you were in a negative way, like kind of deflating yourself? And
Mm,
that's what it was for me, and that kind of set me in a tailspin. But it was really kind of crushing uh, a lot of my ego in this case, rather than my soul, and it really set me into a deeper direction.
mm,
uh, so sometimes, like, our best laid plans are destroyed, but it could be a spark for going further and enduring and reaching more, like the patience of Job say,
mm,
of keeping going deeper and deeper. But yes, our spirit can get crushed if we let it, if we just give up. I mean, you could give
mm,
up, just be depressed for the rest of your life, commit suicide, have a disease, and call it quits, and you only got so far.
mm,
Or you can use that, transform that, love that, learn from that, and go further.
mm, mm.
Like
All
Viktor
right.
Frankl in the concentration camps. How did you get through the just unbearable, unbelievable torture and suffering?
Mm. Okay, so I see that the question was turned to me. Has my soul been damaged? Yes, I would say my soul has been damaged several times. I will admit, several times in my life, it has been severely damaged. However, it seems that I think there's a Bible term that says where sin abound, grace does much more abound. It seems that the damage that had been inflicted on me, um, somehow, maybe through God's grace, I haven't internalized it to where that damage remains. But I will confess, as you certainly, my soul been damaged several times. I'm probably a lot over time. I mean, I've had plans against me and this and that, and being ripped off, and these damage the soul when your mind wants to put up a defense and strike back, and over time I've tried to not respond the same way that I would have in the past. So yes, the answer to Jade, your question is yes. Mickey V says yes, and so if Dolly says no, and I think I guess there's people out there who's never been damaged at all. Now, Doctor, have you or your wife been damaged in your soul?
Well, I think, to answer your question, part of it is just understanding what it might mean to be damaged in your soul. I'm thinking that most people, maybe almost all people, Daniel, have traumatic things that happen to them when they're young. often maybe as an infant or especially the first few years of life when they're very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say that is a damage to the soul, and it could be a repeat of a pattern, and you could have a trauma that you're holding in yourself, and it could repeat itself when those things that happen again
Mm-hmm.
are often repeat patterns. And that takes us where we started in our discussion, that the soul came here to learn and heal and grow. So if you have a situation where people abuse you and they keep abusing you, I mean, you would like to learn how to deal with abusive situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
From a deeper, profound place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have free will whether to do it or not, but that would be the choice of learning and growing and healing
Mm-hmm.
from those traumatic experiences, which almost everyone has.
Okay. Speaking of growing and healing, Bear from the live chat says, Dr. Ken, can the soul expand and grow, or is it a permanent thing?
That's a good question. I believe it can. I believe there's a stages of spiritual development. So it starts off where, and there's terms of younger and older souls. Well, it starts off in this lifetime where at a certain point you start to awaken, like I was saying in my journey, and we help people in our trainings do this. So you start to see that there's more than being part of a group, whatever the group is, like the organization I was in or whatever. And then you start to look at your own path, and you might try different things, different studies, different religions, different people, different practices. And at a certain point, you start to do the healing, the deeper
Mm-hmm.
healing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people have to do healing just to function, but I'm talking about a deeper sort of inner wounds of childhood, things where you feel lonely, you feel like a failure, you feel shameful, which you're carrying with you. And at a certain point, Daniel, it becomes intolerable to sweep it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you look for someone to help you, the healing techniques like the EFT tapping and the spiritual kinesiology, some kind of healing to learn how to reparent, to love yourself, to get the lesson. What did you learn from that?
Mm-hmm.
So if nothing ever bad happened to me, if life was smooth and easy, how could I be here and help other people and teach anything or share anything,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The same with you.
Right. In the sports realm, there's a maxim they use, and I think it's kind of universal. It says, fear is just pain leaving the body.
Mm-hmm.
But spinning from that, it does seem that we're beings of habit, and whatever habits we have tend not to change unless some dramatic event happens, as if some kind of crisis or pain. And why is that? Is there a way to learn without the pain and the crisis?
Well, it's kind of like heading off the life review, which the way it goes, you see that after you die, where you check your whole life out in a flash. You can my feeling is, why not just kind of do it right now or ahead of time, learn how to keep kind of things in checks and balance. The answer is absolutely yes. It's true that many people wait till the midlife transition, or sometimes called a crisis, between maybe 30 and 50, thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be more proactive in it. And you need a certain amount of life experience probably to want to face your shadows, those hurts and traumas. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely don't have to wait until things pile up and you have to change or just avoid change and just keep avoiding it. Mm-hmm. But yes, you can proactively address it.
There's another maxim that I like, and it's one of the reasons I have this show, and it goes like this. It says, it's good to learn from your experiences, but it's better to learn from somebody else's experiences. And but it does seem that no matter what we see somebody else go through and they write about it, that somehow we still end up making the same mistakes. And we even though we have seen an answer or I guess a positive outcome, it does never seem to apply to well, I will speak for myself. But so what do you think about that?
Well, your soul has a plan, and part of that is healing and learning certain things for you, me, and everyone watching this, and I think everyone on the planet, billions of people. So yes, it's wonderful to learn from other people. I try to do it all the time, and it might save you some shortcuts and give you a lot of wisdom. But ultimately, you came here to learn certain things. So those traumas They didn't happen by accident. So they're teaching you something to learn and master. So you're here specifically to learn those things, and all the resources and whatever you can do to help yourself, that's great, but there's no substitute for it. There's no shortcut. There's no bypassing it.
So it sounds like we're going to have to go through something interesting. You mentioned the life review. I mean, I just saw a really interesting near-death experience, and and that's a measurement too. Is near death? That means your heart's not pumping or your brain's dead or what? People have different things. But anyway, so near-death experience, and the guy was in a tree stand. He was hunting. And he fell down 20 feet on some boulders and rocks, and then he had broken bones, bleeding internally, and then he floated up, and then he went through a tunnel, the classic tunnel, and then he went to a city with had these sort of glass doors, and he went through, and then at some point there's that life review, and he saw, and I heard a lot of near-death experience people. We've had a lot of them on this show say, you see your life in a flash. I guess there's no time when you're in a near-death experience. That's one of the typical things. But he saw the people he hurt and the decisions that he made, how they affected people's lives. And I noticed what you said just a few minutes ago, that you try to keep up on that. And the best thing to do is if you know that what you say and how you act and what you do can damage somebody. That's so that scares the crap out of me. The power that we have to do that to somebody, even if we don't like them, we don't want to do that. Kind of reminds me of Scrooge, and when the Ghost of Three Christmases, and it says he had this chain and ball, and it said, what are the links? He said, those links are the damage that you did, link by link. You forged in life. These are what you did to people. I don't, Dr. Phillip, I don't want, Dr. Phil, I don't want that. I'm trying to cut those links out, man. I'm trying to.
Yeah, you do the best you can, but you can't be perfect. We're here to learn and grow. And it seems like an overwhelming impossibility, but the idea, of course, Daniel, and everyone we know, is not to be perfect. You can't be perfect. That's a problem in itself. It's just, again, to learn to love and yourself and other people. Be kind. Be creative, find out, your gifts and what you have to help the universe. Because when you're helping people with your gifts, the things you're good at, I'm good at writing and speaking and training and teaching. If you do those things, you're sort of in your element, and you're going to be in a more loving place if you don't get carried away and some of the sort of egoistic parts don't take over. And that's something to be monitoring, of course.
Okay, so your book talks about life as an adventure. How can we approach life as an amazing adventure? I always tell people that watch this show that there are kind of like two roads you can go. Even if you're, say, in a Walmart, that you're still in a life zone, and you can look at it like, well, this is a crappy place, or what does life have for me? So what do you suggest for people to turn their life into the doldrums and to making every moment? Because you talk about that the moment is right now, even for people to make this into a magical moment, an amazing adventure.
Right. So that's a wonderful way to look at your life. I think you would agree there. And this has to do with taking charge of your life, what you can control and what you can't. There is that the serenity prayer. So if you take charge of your life, I'll share a story here in a moment. You're not trying to control things. You're not trying to be a pleaser and please others. What is it that you can do? How can you respond in a loving, creative way in each moment? How can you express your gifts to help yourself and the world? Let me share a story. There was a lady who took we have a holistic coaching and healing program, and it's now online Zoom, but years ago, we've been doing it for years. It was in our home office, and the lady came and she was kind of looking at things and hoping maybe this could be something I could do. I'm really interested. And her circumstances, Daniel, she called a difficult marriage. She left her career. She really didn't know what to do with herself, but she was interested in coaching and healing, and she was just hoping that this was it. and she started studying the coaching and healing from us, and she eventually got certificated from us and went on further and became a mental health counselor and found a new relationship that was very positive for her. So if you open your heart, follow your heart, that's not there in society. You don't hear CNN talking about people being heart-centered and having an open heart. But that's where we're ultimately going, and that's, the soul is the seat of the heart. The heart is the seat of the soul. We know that. We've heard that. We can feel that. So that's taking charge of your life, taking command, being intentional, being creative, being loving.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's check in on the poll question for tonight. What is the soul? And of the respondents, the results are 50% says the soul is the immaterial essence of a human, and 50% says the immortal part of the body. And that's a question I've posed to a lot of guests when the soul or even the consciousness comes up, and that is, where exactly is it located?
Right.
And let me put it this. I was thinking about that today because I knew you was coming on. I was thinking, how can I frame that question? There's software out there. Sometimes it's used in sports, maybe in racing, but a little icon pops up and say the car is moving, and that little icon tells who the driver is, will go exactly with that car racing around, or the guy shooting the basketball, it follows him around. It's not in him. It's there almost, whatever that software does. To me, it almost seems like that's kind of like the soul. It's not in the body, but it's like always there. Where do you think it is?
Well, we might say our body is in our soul. So the soul is connected to God, oneness, everything, and it manifested us in our lifetime. We are one part of our soul. Our soul is much vaster, more incomprehensible, and goes on from life to life. So we express that, and it's non-local is sometimes the term. So it's not in one place, but our body, our intelligences that we use, our physical intelligence, our mental, emotional intelligence, the soul uses all of that. It's a consciousness that's not matter. It's not material, but it uses all of that as material that it can use.
Okay, let's get to another question. This is from Viveka Amato. Is it our soul that has dreams? If so, why are some dreams totally crazy?
Well, why do we do crazy things? I guess it depends how you're crazy. So a lot of things in dreams are just fragments of things. So they may be just messages to us, or just things coming off of us, or just releasing things, like sounds, or just waving or shaking our body to release chaotic energy. So a lot of things are just releasing through dreams. Well, but we have a dream body, we have a body here, we have a conscious body here, but it's interesting, the soul goes through all of that and beyond and carries through.
Where's dream located?
Well, the dream, it's not a physical place. Where are you located now? I mean, you're in physical reality, but where is that? In the big scheme of things.
Okay, so would you say, as sort of others in the scientific realm, they would say that the dreams exist on the synapse. They're in little areas of the brain just hanging around in there. Do you concur with that?
Which part of the brain activity is related to a dream? Is that what you're saying there?
No, where's it located? Do you agree with scientists that say that the dreams are in those little synapses in the brain?
The dreams are no. I don't think the dreams are in our physical body. They're reflected, just like consciousness. They have meditators. They track meditators when they're in these higher states of consciousness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
And the brain reflects certain things, but that doesn't mean the soul is in the brain while you're meditating.
So I know we're not doing a dream interpretation tonight, but I had a dream that's still with me. It was a lucid dream. I was being chased by killers, and I would go into a house and there'd be people in there. I said there was a killer coming. And I go out of that house, go across the yard. I go into another house. I said, "There's a killer coming." I run, and so I didn't understand. How's that a fragmentary imaging of something? Because obviously killers are not after me.
Yeah,
but the brain told me that anyway.
Yeah, dream interpretation. Usually, for me, it's energies. It's what it reminds you of, what the feeling is connected with. It can be releasing things. It can be alerting you to things that you're concerned about, not maybe physical killers, but energies that relate to that, or things in your life that are associated with it,
Oh,
without going into dream interpretation. But that's just a quick
okay, okay.
consideration.
Can you explain the difference between the mind and the soul?
Uh, well, the mind, I look at the mind as an aspect, the larger mind of the soul. So the mind is something beyond the brain. The mind is what the soul comes through, like your higher mind. Yeah.
Okay. Anytime I talk about the higher mind, I always reminds me of the hive mind. I'm a
Yeah.
beekeeper, and I can tell you that in the beehive, every one of those bees is thinking the exact same thing. It's kind of like the Borg, and so when you talk about a holistic model, because I think it's in the cover of your book, or at least one of the things we've seen. What is how does what does holistic mean?
Holistic is the parts are related to the whole, and then the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Synergy there. So part of life we just automatically develop without much consciousness, and maybe we have our talents and gifts that we came into life with. In other words, your mental intelligence grows as a child. Just a lot of it's automatically, although there can be gaps, and your emotional intelligence develops more or less. Your physical intelligence, all of that develops, and as you start to awaken, you can use all those abilities consciously to help yourself heal and love and grow.
How does healing of the soul, or you mentioned the title of the book, The Loving Power of the Soul, how does that help us to achieve our goals?
Well, generally there are blocks to what we want to achieve or accomplish. In other words, there's fears. There was a lady I was helping with. We have something called spiritual kinesiology we write about in our Loving Power of Your Soul. It's when you connect with the soul, which we still haven't done that experience yet. Might be nice to do it. Although you can be present and very soulful in this moment, but just to have maybe a direct experience would be good. So you connect more
Are you suggesting
consciously.
doing something right now?
Yeah, why don't we do something right now so then I can reference it,
Sure, let's go
maybe
ahead.
that might be a more direct way, that might be a good foundation for the what's going to follow here.
Okay.
So I think there's a couple ways we do it. Maybe, well, I think really the soul centering might be the best, is probably. Okay. So if you breathe into your heart, and this is a little bit of relaxation, if people can breathe and close their eyes and relax, if they're in a place where they can comfortably do that.
Okay.
So you breathe and you relax your whole body, kind of letting your mind go. It might be kind of a drifting, and you're breathing in pure energy into your heart and letting go of things that you no longer need, maybe extra thoughts or extra things you picked up. You breathe in, kind of reclaiming yourself into your heart, just kind of breathing in yourself into your heart lovingly, and you exhale. And as you breathe in a little more through your nose and exhale, you become more relaxed through your whole body. And as you breathe in that wonderful, calm, clear energy into your heart, you can sense your soul. You can just allow that quietly to present itself. And some people get a sense of it, a greater knowingness, maybe an image, a sound, a feeling, a knowingness. And it usually comes with a sense of expansion, relaxation, acceptance. And as you connect more with that, you can even get a message sometimes from that kind of more peaceful, knowing, expansive place. Even ask a question and allow it to come to you now or later. And as you feel a little more connected to your open heart, soulfully connected, you imagine an opening above your head where you can connect with everything in the whole universe. Just imagine everything connecting with you now. It always is, but now you're more consciously aware of it in this moment. And as you feel that connectedness and that expansion, You can allow it to bring down the perfect energy for you, whatever you need, more love, wisdom, peace, healing. Just kind of bring it into you in whatever way it is, and just allow it to be whatever it is. Knowing that you can connect with this energy whenever you wish. And I'll just, in a moment, count to 5, and that'll be a sense of coming back, and you can return using this experience, this connection with your heart and soul and the universe, however you want, and let go of anything you don't want, knowing you can return, come back here refreshed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, opening your eyes back, grounded here, a little more present, a little more alive. And that was one way we do the soul centering.
Well, I feel pretty centered right there. It was very calming. It's kind of like drinking some chicken soup. No, it was calming. No, so you can actually calm your. The best way calming I got is to not watch the news. That's when I start to calm.
Right.
The calming comes there, but it does seem that you can manipulate your anxiety. And somebody once said, doctor, that life is 90% of what you think about the 10% that happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that Mark Twain quote, I was plagued, by negative imagination, my whole life, imagining about things that almost none of them ever happened to me.
Yeah, like
some people say, just a couple % of your imagination even comes remotely true. So we're imagining all these things. And to tell you a story, Daniel, just using that soul centering that we just did.
Mm-hmm.
So a lady came to me for help, and she was hurt from her friend who she got in a business with, who betrayed her and embezzled the funds from the business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a lady who had meditated daily for 7 years, and meditation has a value, and mindfulness can be part of soulfulness too, although there can be differences too. So I'm wondering if I can help her. So I did the bringing in the soul, and it's something we call spiritual kinesiology. It's just doing a little bit of focusing with the hurt, the block, mm-hmm. which in her case was this rejection, this hurt from her friend. And after a few minutes, bringing in the soul's energy, I just asked Maria Elena, how are you feeling? She goes, I'm fine now. Well, what about the friend? She goes, no, I'm good. And she could just forgive her on the spot. Now, why is that? You can't forgive things that you're not ready to forgive. You may know you should forgive. I mean, I'm sure she knew for 7 years, probably part of her knew that it would be a good idea to forgive her friend and not ruminate. But she didn't. Because once she got to a soulful place, she was able to let it go and move forward, mm-hmm. and heal herself at a deep level.
Mm-hmm. How is it can we live more in the soul or the spirit than we do, say, carnally in our thinking, in our mind? Is there a way to live more in the better aspects of it?
Well, I think maybe to rephrase the question just a little bit, Daniel, is if we are more present, our soul is being in the world but not of the world. We are living more aware. I am more aware of my speaking. I am more aware of you. I'm more aware of this situation. I'm not aware of everything and everyone, but I'm here doing the best I can, living more fully now and what makes the most sense and responding more intentionally.
Mm-hmm. What else can people learn from this book that you wrote?
Well, there's 3 parts. The first part is the preparation, which is understanding those different intelligences, physical, mental, emotional intelligences, and what they are. We go a little more into details what each one is, like some of the meanings of the emotions that you're experiencing, what it might suggest to you, and how to use it and connect with it maybe more soulfully, and what meditation is, and how you can use that, and also how it could limit you if you use it as escapism or you don't hear the messages from the soul. So there's the preparation, then there's the 6 different ways of connecting with the soul, and we did that one soul centering a few minutes ago, and if you use that as a meditation, then it becomes more easy to do it automatically, and your awareness and energy and consciousness lifts. It doesn't mean you're not thrown off and have setbacks and challenges. I don't mean things are perfect and without disruptions or challenges. Yes, but there's more of you to handle it and deal with it, more presence. And then the third part is using different healing, energy healings, like the spiritual kinesiology that I mentioned, the lady healing from her soul, using that to heal the wounds from her hurt relationships, the betrayal from her friend.
Well, who hasn't been betrayed? That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And I'm going to challenge somebody, because we didn't get a lot of respondents on that in that first hour. People, have they ever had their soul damaged? People didn't want to say anything, but I think maybe embarrassing to them. I don't think you can live on this earth without that happening, because there's so many.
Yeah, and it's difficult. It's very tender and vulnerable, and it takes being ready for it and the right person and setting and support to deal with it, especially today, because I mean it's not.
Well, isn't that like in a stepology type of sense, a admission that at some point you have been damaged? Is that first step for healing?
It is, but you need someone who's going to support you and listen to you and not shame you or just say things. I mean, you can't imagine if I just said to the lady, "Hey, come on, get over it. You shouldn't really hold a grudge against the lady who betrayed you." I said maybe even things that were the right things. That's not going to work. And if she wasn't ready to come to me and be open to deal with it and heal it, that wouldn't work either. So it is an organic journey for each of us.
So you say messages from the soul. What's the last message you got from your soul?
The last message. A lot of times messages are real simple, Daniel. They're just simple. We usually think it could be a very elaborate thing. And it could be just simple things like, it's okay, or relax. I could go in and just see, just try to get a feeling. If part of it is you could get a general message, but often there's messages addressed to a particular situation.
I had a message clear as day given to me one time in my life experience, Dr. Phil. I was working for a company, and every 6 months I had to go up these stairs to the office, and I would be evaluated. And then the manager would do my evaluation, and he would type on a calculator, okay, you're this proficient and this and that, and then he'd slide it across the thing and say, here's your raise or not raise. So I always had this anxiety going up those stairs at these intervals, because I didn't like the guy, and I don't think he liked me either. And so it's like, okay, well, I have to suck up to this guy, whatever. And so, but this particular time, I'm walking up the steps, and I heard a message clear as day tell me, I could have been audible, I don't know. It says, the person behind the desk is not in charge of your raise. I am. Right. And I looked around, and I couldn't believe I heard that. I'm thinking, well, who did that? Who said that? Was I talking to myself? But when I heard that, all my anxiety that I had every single time before just melted to nothing. And I had this total assurance, confidence, and peace. Right. I went up there, and I sat down, and that time, instead of typing on the calculator, he slid the calculator across the desk and said, tell me what you want. So all my anxiety got me nothing, but when my anxiety went away, I heard a voice clear as day. And he slid that calculator across the desk.
That's a great illustration. I love that story. Now, one time, one of the messages that came to us about, we were wondering about what would happen with the project, and the message was, you'll be surprised and delighted. So we use that. And some of these become kind of mantras. Now, let me share another one, which I think you and the listeners will really enjoy. One of the downloads, one of our healing approaches is a simple phrase that kind of came to us years ago. And here's how it goes. It's real simple. It goes this way. It says, anything is possible, but miracles are happening now. Anything is possible, but miracles are happening now. Reflect on that for a moment. Okay, think of a challenging situation you have. Can you think of something challenging?
Myself?
Yourself, or anything that you might consider as challenging. It could be you or just something you consider challenging.
Well, I'm having a challenge right now. Number 7 beehive is underpopulated, and
That the what is underpopulated?
one of my beehives is
Oh
underpopulated.
yeah, yeah,
So
and that's
I have a lot of consternation and almost a little fear there. It's like they're not going to make it. And
oh yeah, oh yeah,
does that
and that
qualify?
makes sense. Yeah, and yeah, it could be anything. You know,
Okay, well
pick a
that's
card.
one. That's one for me right
So
now.
so say that, and then we'll do a little one of the. So say anything is possible, even though I have this concern about my beehive. Is it?
Yeah.
Say anything, even though I have this concern about, even though part of me has a concern about my beehive, anything is possible and miracles are happening now.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Even though I have this concern of my beehive number 7,
Yes,
miracles are happening right now,
and anything is possible.
and anything's possible.
Okay, so we're going to add one more element to it. I'm
Okay.
doing like kind of building a healing thing with you.
Okay.
So uh, we're going to tap the side of our hand. This is a healing point. Even though part of me has a concern about my beehive,
I
on
got
the
to do
heel
that.
of our hand,
Okay.
anything is possible. Miracles are happening now. So you say that. Say it while you're tapping.
Anything's possible.
Yeah. Even though I have this concern, the edge of your hand, the side of your
Oh,
hand.
okay. Got okay. The edge.
Yeah. Karate chop.
Wow. Okay, got it. We're doing it. We're on it.
Okay. Even though part of me has a concern about my beehive,
Yeah.
say that.
Even though part of me has a concern, probably this part right here, getting hit.
Yeah, it could be. Anything is possible.
Anything's possible. You hear that hand? We'll keep beating on you till you understand.
Yeah. And miracles are happening now.
Miracles are happening, Doc.
Okay, now we're going to do one more part. This is tapping across the top of your head. I know you have a hat. I don't know if you
It
can do it
stays.
with your.
The hat don't come off.
Yep. Well, you can still do it. You know, so you're doing like your left and right brain, like
Okay.
across your whole
Ow,
head.
ow, ow, ow.
Just
Okay.
your whole head there, Dan.
Oh,
Dan.
okay.
You got
Whole head.
part of it. Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
I want people
So
in the audience. If I got to do this, they got to do this too. So I hope everybody's doing this at home.
yeah, it looks strange, I know, but
That's
it's
right.
balancing
Good boy.
energies.
Good boy.
You're balancing your left and right brain. Anything is possible,
Anything's possible.
and miracles are happening now.
And miracles happening right now. I hit myself on the
And
head.
the listeners can do it on something they have a challenge on. Anything is
Right,
possible.
right.
And now one more last part. Tap
Okay.
across the heart,
Okay.
because we're going to integrate in the heart, right? Because the heart's
Okay.
important.
Okay.
Anything is possible,
Anything's possible.
and miracles are happening now.
Miracles are happening. Right.
And take a deep breath through your nose and exhale.
Okay. I feel like there's a queen in my hive now, and it's going to be repopulating.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. You'll have to email me later how that goes, or
I will.
and tell me how it turns out. Yeah, so that's a possibility of shifting things coming to you, and whatever it is, the idea is it allows people to be more resourceful. It opens people up because, let's face it, if you don't think much is possible, which when you're anxious and worried you don't, you're very tunnel vision. If you open up possibilities, even if it's extremely challenging, more things can come in, more light can come in. More,
And now that seems to be a trained reaction that humans have, Dr. Phil, and that is when something happens, we almost expect, we literally say the negative. Oh, this is going to
Yeah.
happen. You know, this can't happen or that can't. It's like a default, and I really hate that. I hate that about myself. I sometimes
Yeah.
default to this negative. I don't like that.
yeah, and I understand what you're saying, and part of it is necessary just so we stay alive. Growing up as a kid, you know, we had to learn a lot of negatives, or we wouldn't have survived. You know, we would have just fallen and hurt ourselves, or probably damaged, even killed ourselves. So part of it we need as a preserving ourselves and protecting ourselves. Now, the awakening part that we've been talking about, the loving, healing, creative part, puts you in with your anything is possible, miracles are happening now aspects, non-local consciousness. So that opens up. So yes, I am going to be practical. I'm not going to cross the street with my eyes closed and say anything is possible. Miracle. No, of course not. You're going to be aware of certain things, but you're going to be aware of it in a more loving, creative, even more resourceful way, more intelligent way. And if you have to be more security-minded, you'll do that from a better place as well. Not a fearful place, not a shutdown place, but a place that makes the most sense for you now in this moment.
Okay, people in the live chat, how many of you were doing the chop when I was doing it? If I did it on camera, then you're going to be doing it at home. All right, here's a great question from Bear. It says, Doctor, is there really such a thing as a soul mate?
Well, it sounds like what the question that the person might be suggesting that, is there one right person for me? Maybe that's what does that sound like what the question is about?
Well, I would say that would,
Yeah.
a soulmate. I mean, that seems, everybody
Yeah.
understands what a soulmate is. Soulmate is like somebody who is just your yin and yang. It fits everything together, and you could just something Hey, by the way, people, Mickey V did it in the live chat. Kat did it. Several people were doing that.
Any responses? Did we get any? I'm glad people did it. Did they notice anything about their situation? I don't know if they reflected and if they were doing it on some issue, but that would be interesting if we get any. But let me go back to the soulmate.
Yeah.
So you came in with the soul plan, and that includes relationships, and that may include one or more people who you're related to on a deep level. And since there's free will and a lot of things could happen, you may or may not connect with this one or more people that you have a deep relationship with.
By the way, joining the live chat, Scotty, Southern Boy, Joey Splatz, and Kat Sorelli all in the live chat. All right, got another question for you. It says, from Max, says, how can we escape from the body cage to give it to the spirit?
Well, I don't think we're meant to escape it while we're here. Otherwise, we would be insensitive to our body and our body's need. The idea is to love your body, to use the intelligences, to use your body, to use your breathing, to use your body functions, to use all the abilities your body has to help yourself and other people and to live fully. Because if you're not in sort of a healthy place, and some people aren't, but if you aren't in as functional a place as you can be, a lot of times it's hard to live your purpose and do your best, most creative work. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had something genetically or some huge physical thing that you came on this lifetime to deal with, that is what you took on for particular reasons.
I remember a scripture says he learned obedience through the things that he suffered, which kind of tells me that we suffer sometimes so that we can learn how to be a better person, a better soul on this earth. So, like I said, we said in the first hour, I'd like to bypass some of those pains that we have to go through, but it seems that it's given to us in little doses along our path. Sometimes we'll get a major one, but a lot of times they're just little things, I think. Wouldn't those have the same effect as a traumatic experience, the totality of the smaller things?
When you say little things that do what? Like little,
well, it causes pain. It causes this
little pains. Yeah, they could be little awakenings.
Forced awakenings.
So the idea is you hear the whispers, so you don't have to hear the shouts.
Right, I like that. Yeah.
So the pains are from the traumas, which can be from birth or pre-birth or past lives, and they can be aggravated and repeated throughout life. And that's what the pain and the suffering is, because we keep going through the same problems, like the same kind of people, the same kind of insults, the same kinds of rejections, the same kinds of doubts, etc., the same failures, until we learn the lesson, and until we heal and love ourselves. That's why they keep repeating, because we haven't learned the lesson. We haven't woken up. We haven't addressed them yet.
Mm-hmm. So we can learn lessons and grow, or we could have been created as robots with no free will. I think in the end, I think there's a scripture that says something about the angels marvel that we willingly look for God or obey God, where they don't have a choice. And so they marvel that humans do have the choice, and some of us do choose for that higher level of being awake and alive.
Right. You can invite in angels to support you in your love journey too, so that can make life a little easier. And
now I remember we had one guest on the show. They were asked that question about the soulmate, and I think their answer was you can have 2 or 3 or who knows how many soulmates. I don't know about that, but here's a question from our moderator. It says, from Jade, do you believe you can somewhat gaze into someone's soul?
I'm not. I think one has a certain sense or knowingness of people, and when people are sometimes there's just relationships that are from other times where you just sort of know someone right away and you have this affinity to people. And some people, I think, are more aware of people sort of telepathically than others, sort of a paranormal ability. So that could be something that could be developed more.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of tell when a person is coming from a more soulful place because they're coming from a more loving, creative, altruistic place.
Sort of going on with that question of gazing into someone's soul, there, it seems that sometimes we come across people that appear or we sense they have a dark soul. Can you speak to that and what that is?
Well, I think you can sometimes feel if people are troubled or anxious or depressed or controlling. I mean, I think you can pick up energies from people. Most people can do that to a degree more or less. And then what they say in their behavior is good indicators of it too.
What about the euphemism that the eyes are the window to the soul? That kind of goes along with this question as well, gazing into someone's soul. Are the eyes the gateway to the soul?
I think that's a useful metaphor. Just sort of having someone kind of like opening your heart. You know, are your eyes open? Do you feel open? Because your eyes are your vision, which is for most people maybe their predominant sense. So are you awake? Are you alert? Are you open? Are you receptive? Are you loving?
Mm-hmm. It seemed that not too long ago, Google had said that they're going to be able to upload the memories and experiences of humans into obviously a computer chip of some sort by the year 2150. Recently, they've revised that and said the year 2045. I mean, it went down over 100 years because technology is advancing that far. If you could transfer your essence, your consciousness, your memories into a machine, doctor, would you?
Well, I don't think you could export your soul into a machine. You could maybe put memories and data and information, but the soul has a certain wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
a certain experience, a certain love and creativity
So that wouldn't be you.
That no artificial intelligence could replicate.
So that wouldn't be you in the machine.
No, it would not be me. It would be, parts
Mm-hmm.
of my capacities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough about artificial intelligence to evaluate what it can pick up on. But I mean, it's just like saying, sense of humor, a sense of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Can a machine choose the way you choose? You
Mm-hmm.
have free will and choice. If you're artificial intelligence, do you have free will and choice?
Mm-hmm.
You have a sense of humor, unless it's sort of, kind of programmed to have jokes or something. Do you have spontaneity?
Mm-hmm. I mentioned the dark soul and the eyes have been the window to the soul. There are people that I have seen that literally have dark eyes that seem unnatural. Would that be an indicator of, oh, I guess I want to maybe go further. Does everyone have a soul?
That's a good question. I believe they do. I can't speak, authoritatively about it, but it might be a deadened soul. It might be a devoid soul. It might be kind of a soul sort of on life support that's distant.
So one could have a soul that is so damaged it appears dead, but could it be completely dead?
I don't know. To me, it seems like everyone has the potential for life, even if it's sort of gone out, because it's part of the universe. It's part of oneness. Because if we're all part of oneness, if everything is connected, assuming it's kind of living, we're talking on kind of a living level instead of inert, then there's some kind of consciousness, there's some kind of spark there, even if it's very barely there or crushed out.
So you're saying it never goes away.
Formed.
So I was going to follow up with the question then. It might be applicable anyway. If the soul is dead, does something take the place of its location, of where it is? Something else. Does something else take the place of the soul?
I wouldn't say something takes place of the soul, but I mean, we're kind of getting into some theoretical realms. I mean, it may be possible that other beings or other energies come in and kind of fill up the void because of you allowing, kind of like it's sort of like an experience of hanging out at a bar, hanging around with some unsavory people. If you kind of invite them into your life on one level or another, they're hanging out and suddenly, they're taking over your house and your finances and whatever,
Seems like I've heard police reports really recently that where the police described the assailant in maybe a grisly murder situation or whatever, that the assailant had no remorse whatsoever. And it's dear. It seems like it was deeper than that. More to the fact that they were saying they recognize this person has no soul, no humanity. It seems that the soul is the anchor to humanity, and without it, you're not human anymore. You're something else.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what you've become, but you've sort of lost your humanity. There is a phrase like that. You're sort of dead to the world. You're sort of on life support.
Mm-hmm. In another shockingly accurate scriptural reference, the Bible says there's a time when people will want to die, but they can't. And it seems to me if their essence was captured by tech, some advanced tech, AI tech, and put it in a machine, they would never die. Even though they wanted to, they never could. They'd just be transferred to another processor somewhere.
Oh, you mean if their consciousness could be put in artificial
right? They never could die. They want to die, but they can't because they're always on somebody's.
That would be if that were possible. I guess it's a science fiction possibility.
They're always on somebody's. They're inhabiting somebody's thumb drive, and somebody makes a copy of it, and you're never going to die.
Yeah, I mean, to me that doesn't make sense because consciousness transcends something that could be put into like an artificial intelligence. I don't think it could be captured that way. Mm-hmm. Aspects of our capacities could, but not our actual essence and soul.
When does the soul come into the body?
Well, that's people and I can't say this for sure. I don't have a definitive answer, but generally people say it's shortly before, around birth, around the birth time. The soul may be determines how the parents it wants to be born, but the kind of conscious part that you think of the soul may be very shortly before or after birth. That's from what I understand, and I'm not a real expert. I haven't studied that closely.
So you said it's a possibility the soul comes in to the baby before birth?
Maybe right before or right during, right at around the time of birth. But I'm not sure about that.
Now it seems there are sonograms, if that's the right word, of babies in the womb that show that the babies in there have some characteristic, like maybe smiling. Some have said laughing. That to me seems like the essence of the human soul is in there, maybe at a much earlier time than near birth.
Yeah, I don't know exactly the defining answer, and I can see why it's an interesting question that has a lot of relevance. But if one is kind of just learning as a baby, is just learning how to become a human, just like an animal would, they would be picking up all kinds of things of ways of functioning. Again, that's functions. Mm-hmm. A lot of that's more functions than consciousness.
Mm. In fact, to that point, it seems I remember a quote that was recently unearthed by Dr. Oz, who's running for senator of Pennsylvania. It seems at some point in his past he said that a baby in the womb is an acorn with electrical impulses. Is that what you're describing?
I don't know. I wouldn't put it that way. I wouldn't call a baby like an acorn with electric. That sounds a little cold.
Yeah, that seems pretty damn cold. Yeah. In fact, I would say that sounds soulless.
Yeah, that sounds. That would be saying like an animal's just a piece of an acorn, just pulsing or something. Your dog is just sort of a pulsing, animal has electrical beats or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, let's check into our pulse. If we've moved that needle any, and it looks like the needle has moved. 54% say the soul is the immaterial essence of a human, and then the second one is the immortal part of the body. Third one is the subconscious, and nobody took my choice, the Beatles album. They were called Rubber Soul. They probably didn't even know there was a
You're on the edge on that. You're the outlier.
So how's that happen? And then so we talked about the soul coming into the body. Where did the soul go after it leaves the body?
Well, the way I understand it, it checks what it did, that life review, and then it sees what it wants to do next in its journey to wholeness, which can be other lifetimes or other realms.
Looks like I didn't drag you far enough into the baby question. Somebody wants to know about your opinion, and with the Supreme Court's getting ready to rule on Roe v. Wade, you got a you yay or nay, or do you opt out of that question?
Oh, I see. Well, I don't really get that much into political things, but it seems like it was something that was functioning pretty well for most people to let people decide individually about that.
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess that goes back to my question about where does the soul go? If the soul is in there, if somebody snuffs out that soul, that can't be a good thing. That seems to me that that's not soul damage, that's soul murder there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it could be, but it would the way it seems to be from the one way of looking at it is it's
Hmm.
part of the bigger picture of what the person wanted to experience, like part of that journey, like if you're being stillborn or something, or having terrible things happen to you. Not that
Hmm.
anyone wants that to
Hmm.
happen or that's
Hmm.
approving of those kind of things, but it could be part of a bigger uh, uh, purpose that's sort of beyond what we normally consider ordinary thinking or ordinary
Hmm.
morality.
Yeah, we've talked about in the first hour. I was posing the question or asking you, what do you think about those who you see there's no chance for their soul to elevate, their hate to move to love,
Yeah.
and so this I would say a group that looks as that baby in the womb as a soulless, as a thing without a soul, can't be convinced that there is a soul. If they don't believe there's a soul in the womb, they're not going to believe there's a soul outside the womb. It's almost like your argument for what you believe about the soul is only going to apply to those who believe the soul even exists. Because they can't allow themselves mentally to confirm that there could be a living soul in the body, so therefore they can do whatever they want with it. But if they've convinced themselves there's no soul in there, then they're probably convinced that there's no soul, period. And so their whole life may be a series of more leaning toward hateful actions because there's no soul mediation there. There's nothing to mediate their behavior because doesn't soul come sort of attach itself to the consciousness, and that's why we know when we do wrong. The soul is saying, you talk about our messages, we're getting messages that is wrong. There's certain things you just know is wrong, but there's a whole
Hmm.
class of people that don't have that compunction that there is something wrong, that the only
Hmm.
right is what advances their personal cause.
Could be, yeah. Some people kind of forget the bigger picture, yeah, and go in what's right for themselves on a deeper level. And a lot of that's very individualistic, and it's very hard to, tell for one person, what's right for me and what's right for you, because we may be in the same situation, and the choice, it just depends where it's coming from, might be a different. We might make a different choice. It could be right for each of us.
Okay. The question came back, the difference between the soul and the spirit. Did you address that earlier?
Oh, I'd see spirit as sort of the energy of God pervading through the soul, sort of that wonderful energy that comes through us all.
Hmm. Okay, and I've been taking notes, but I don't have an answer. Then where does the soul go after the body?
Well, the soul makes a decision, evaluates what happened in this life, how much of its purpose and how far it got in its journey, and what it wants to do next, which could
Hmm.
be
So our
reflect,
soul,
relax, learn, go on to another lifetime, go on to another realm.
so our soul is almost like an autonomous creation. It decides what it wants to do. I mean, would that be the same as you deciding what you want to do, or is it some other thing that on your behalf is deciding?
I am here as an aspect of my soul, sort of a creation of my soul. I believe everyone is. So even though we may not be aware that we're here for a reason, we may not realize the reason or wake up to it, but we have a sense of it often to a degree, especially at those intense moments of awareness and big choices in our life.
Mhm. Is every
And we
Go
learn
ahead.
what we want to learn and come as far as we want, but we are sort of a representative, scout, an expression of our soul.
Um, is every soul that exists or has ever existed, is there a finite number of souls, or is there somewhere where souls are continually being created?
I don't know the number, the soul creation, what the limits and numbers are. I don't know.
Well, I mean, nobody could know the answer to how many, but is your feeling that they are continuing as more humans are being born? Or these, because it seems like you mentioned reincarnation several times. Are these the same beings going round and round and round, or is somewhere, say a baby's born and there's another soul? Is that somebody else's soul? So there's never a change in the number. You don't have to say the number, but do you believe that is a finite a number? There are no more, or are they going to be continue? Are they somewhere being added? We don't need to discuss
I
numbers.
don't know if there is a finite number or not, is what I'm saying. I mean, from what I've understood, there are probably billions or countless numbers of souls, because if you have to kind of tally in the whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
We're just one small universe among billions of universes, and then trillions of planets. So I mean, it kind of goes off the charts of our left brain of trying to figure that out.
Mm. Now, where did your soul come from?
Where did it come from? Mm-hmm. Well, it came from oneness, from the universe, from God, essentially.
Mm.
It may have gone through different systems and star systems and so forth to get here eventually.
Yeah, and another scripture coming into my mind says, talk about the soul and the baby we mentioned a couple of minutes ago. It does say, before you were born, I knew you, indicating that your soul was in existence somewhere. Some people have suggested there's like a soul warehouse, and then a body's born and that's taken. So, a lot of people have different ideas about that. But it does seem to be an eternal aspect about it. Well, listen, Dr. Phillip Mountrose, I appreciate you coming on the show. Now, we've got your book in the background. How can people get this book, and tell us another blurb about it? What is it going to do for us?
The book?
The book.
Yeah, the book will help you to connect consciously, easily with your soul, and to heal from it, and to learn about aspects of things like meditation and how you can use your mental, physical, emotional intelligence to advance your life and be on purpose. So that will be extremely valuable for living fully. If you want to live a full life, if you want to live an intentional life, if you want to live a more loving and creative life, this book is very easy to read with a lot of case studies and examples on how to do that. And we have a little free gift that we have on our website that has an excerpt from The Loving Power of Your Soul, which you can also get on Amazon in paperback or Kindle. But if you want a free excerpt, go to our website and go to tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit, tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit. And we have an excerpt, and we have a video on some of the healing methods that we do and some resources there. And that's a shortened URL. Our website, which is quite extensive, is through thru.org.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I see your wife is involved in some of these things here as well. Do you talk about soulmate? Do you feel like she's your soulmate?
We one way we've understood it, one system would call us task companions. Some people are kind of like, they call them essence twins, where they're very similar. And some people just have sort of a soul plan to work together, since we're not only husband and wife, we're actually writing and teaching and doing all these projects, and have a nonprofit institute called Awakenings Institute that we do together.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I'm going to say y'all soulmates.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Phillip Mountrose, I appreciate you coming on the Edge broadcast.
Great being with you, Daniel. Thanks.
All right. How'd you like the interview style, and how it went for you tonight?
It was good. It was interesting. It was challenging at times. It went into some interesting areas.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.